I'm so excited today to have David Van Beekum on the podcast. Dave is a co-founder and creator of Tweva, the world's first social TV network for small businesses and influencers. A digital marketing guru, startup enthusiast, and tech expert, Dave's a man of many talents. Despite being more of an introvert, Dave has been a driving force behind Tweva's success, working tirelessly on software development, databases, automation, 3D printing, robots, and AI. But it wasn't until recently, when one of his co-founders passed away, that Dave realized it was time to step out of his comfort zone and share his wealth of knowledge with others. Balancing the challenges of running a startup with a family, Dave is currently focused on securing a $2.2 million investment for Tweva, while simultaneously driving traction with local businesses on the platform. It's a tough balancing act, but Dave's passion for helping small businesses succeed is unwavering. When he's not revolutionizing the social TV space, Dave enjoys spending time with his wife and kids in sunny Florida. And if you can't find him there, chances are he's locked himself in his air-conditioned office, dreaming up new ways to change the world of digital marketing. Dave, I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for being on the show.
A lot of fun to come on and share my story and experience with anyone who loves to listen.
And that's where I want to start.
Welcome to Catalytic Leadership, the podcast designed to help leaders intentionally grow and thrive. Here is your host, author, and leadership and executive coach, Dr. William Attaway.
I would love to start with your story. Love to hear more about that, for you to share some of that with our listeners, particularly around your journey and your development as a leader. How did this whole thing get started?
Oh man, I mean, if just the Tweva business, it started from a couple of us, all of our little business meeting and our partners talking about in a restaurant, like, how could we change the TV world for small businesses? We were sitting around looking at the TV, and I think it's kind of sparked the idea. We saw like a competing commercial for a big franchise like Pizza Hut or Domino's, and they were an Italian restaurant. So I was kind of like, how dare they? How dare they advertise in your establishment, that big company? Don't they know who you are? You know, it came like a funny thing. It kind of started there. But it got us thinking, hey, could we create something that is for small businesses where they could create their own content, they could share it on their TV. And it wasn't like, the first idea wasn't necessarily citywide or nationwide. It was just this, can I control what's on my TV? Because no matter what kind of restaurant or business you are, you always have somebody competing on general television.
Yeah.
So me and my tech brain, I'm thinking like, well, I could create, it could be a slideshow. We could create a basic slideshow, and then, oh, well, we want videos on there. And well, that's not that much fun to look at. Maybe we'd have to add some weather, some social media, and maybe other things. Well, what about if somebody other could other people post on there too? And it kind of built out this idea of a TV network for small businesses, built by small businesses, owned by small businesses, but it's a TV channel kind of for the city at the same time.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a growing, like, it started small, but you build on it. And if you have that, imaginary brain to just think, what am I doing? How can I build this? What exists out there? Oh, nothing exists. Okay, well, then we can just start from something and start building it out. So that's really how the idea got started. But it was a growth period in technology and the idea. So it was quite the journey, though.
I love that. And I love how you are leveraging your strengths to meet that need that you see. Patrick Lencioni, in his book, The 6 Types of Working Genius, talks about the first one, which is wonder. And that is seeing something that nobody else can see, that has never existed, and you see what could be. And when you're telling that story, that's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking, man, you're all about the wonder and moving into the ideation phase of like, okay, now how do we make that happen? What does that look like? And you're leveraging your tech skills. And all of this comes from your background. There's no such thing as a wasted experience. And all of your past experience came together to put you in the right place at the right time. And you stepped into that.
Yes, that's the weird part is I didn't always think of it as a wasted, no, I did think of it as wasted experiences. I thought that a lot of the things that I had done in my past were, oh, well, I never used that piece and I never used that piece. Like take, for instance, when I was a kid, my dad had taken home audio equipment, the older audio equipment from church, right? So we had a mixer board over here. We had a reel-to-reel tape recorder over there, an old record player, VCRs. And I had taken all these pieces and played with them when I was a kid. And an RCA cable over here and a coaxial cable for RF from the VCR. Well, that doesn't go well with an RCA cable. So we need a converter. Oh, do we have a converter somewhere in a box? Oh, that one's burnt. Okay, find another one. And okay, so all these little pieces. But what I found was once you get to an experience later on in your life, you don't see and you don't necessarily understand this is happening, but those past experiences that you've lived through and you can see how they work, you don't see a block. So when other people might think like, oh, I have to build something for TV, they might think, well, it wouldn't work with any TV. Oh, how does it work with all the other TVs? When my previous experiences, which I thought were maybe a loss or a waste of time, I can see through that issue, which I don't even see as an issue, right? I just think, oh, you just have to do this, 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 and this, and it works.
Yeah.
And it's the same for all pieces though. Like, and this is why I think some CEOs and leadership, they don't see the issues the same way as maybe we would call it an inexperienced person, like maybe somebody with less experience in a specific industry or genre or whatever.
Yeah.
But the people that I talk to, wow, that's so incredible. It's so complicated. I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's, I just connect this. And because it's not even a block for me. It doesn't think like it's a problem. I think, oh yeah, well, I understand those pieces and those pieces. After all that, and you start talking to individuals like yourself, and it does make sense to me now, but I don't think it makes sense to everyone. I don't think everybody views problems the same way. And I think from what we were speaking about previously is about leadership. I think that is a piece in that leadership role of you may see it as a problem or not even see it as a problem. You just think, oh yeah, we can do this.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, people that you're trying to lead might say, oh my goodness, look at that. It's such an issue. And you're going like, what issue?
Exactly.
You always step back and say, okay, what's the issue here? Because I don't see what it is. And so there couldn't be a disconnect between leadership role and who you're leading because you can't see what that issue is.
So good.
And I haven't noticed that until later, but that seems to be a block, that disconnect feeling when you're, oh, look at that leader. He's so amazing.
Yeah.
It means that we're not doing a good job explaining the path and the connection between bypassing or fixing that issue and leading them to get there, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. John Maxwell says that leaders see more than others see, and they see before others see. That's a gift, right? But if you can't communicate what you see, if you can't lead and bring them with you, you're not leading. You're just a guy out there hanging out somewhere else.
With an idea.
Right. That's never going to happen.
I got a great idea. And I noticed that too. When, first time I went out and talked to small businesses, it was, wait, what is this?
Yeah.
Because at the first iteration, you can't explain the dream, the build, the idea.
Yes.
And so you have to kind of go back and say, okay, well, for an older person running a restaurant or a business, is it really a social network? No, he's not part of a social network. So how do I communicate what this product is to that? And in the marketing world, we call it a persona.
Yeah.
Right. So this persona does not understand these specific pieces. So we may have to change the language, change the words, the graphics, all of those pieces that are in essentially your marketing arm have to be changed to allow that person to understand what this product is.
That's good.
And it's still part of being the leader, because you can say, you can come up with, oh, it's a TV social platform. Doesn't matter. What is it? It's a TV channel. It's a
Yes.
TV channel for him, right? Growing up, he had 13 channels, right? And you click them
Yep.
with the old TVs. You know, I had one. Push
Yeah.
on, push off. That's what it is to them, because
Yeah.
everything else is doing the business the way that it has to be done. So from a leadership role, you need to be able to look at that and say, okay, how large of a percentage of the marketing arm is touching those individuals that understand it in this specific way? Do we need to change our marketing? Do we need to add a word or remove a word? Is it too complicated? Because essentially your marketing firm, they'll just run with whatever you tell them.
Yeah.
And that could be a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, people think, oh yeah, we just have to, yeah, but who are we talking to? Why are we talking to them is very, very important in the long run.
That's so good. I love how you're describing building a bridge to somebody where they actually are instead of where you think they should be or where you assume they are. I see too many people making a lot of assumptions. Well, of course they're going to know what this is. Of course they're going to understand this. Of course they're going to. Yeah, good luck with that. You can't
Yep.
make those type of assumptions. You have to realize and understand where they actually are. And that's what you did. You went and had those conversations and discovered where they were so that you could build that bridge that is effective and strong enough to support what it is you're bringing across it. You know, when people think about digital marketing, TV is not something that I hear a lot. Like that's not a channel most people are thinking, and you're changing that. What are some of the benefits of this? Like some people who are listening are thinking, yeah, but would that work for me? Like, is there really a lot of benefit? Can you get traction really through this sort of a thing? What would you say to that?
Well, it's different, and most small businesses, they don't, it's not a talking point. You don't
Yeah.
sit down a small business and say, hey, how's your ad running on TV?
Right, right.
It is a little bit, it's changing. So you have your social media marketing, you have your digital marketing, which again, even in a small business, they're struggling with this.
Yeah.
We looked at it as an efficiency, at least when we were talking about things that have gone through the cycle of innovation. So you look at the car, right? The car has gone from, I mean, I guess the first car you could say was electric, and then you've gone to gas, and it was very bad gas mileage in the very beginning, but through refinement, it became a very efficient machine.
Yeah.
So much that it lasted for almost 100 years before the electric car came back and said, well, we're still not that efficient. And then you have your light bulb, right? Your light bulb went from incandescent lights, and then you went to, I don't know how many, 100 years till you had a fluorescent, which was a gas that has been ignited with thousands of volts versus 110 volts, right? Thousands of volts, which needs a ballast, which is very dangerous, incredibly efficient. And then someone said, well, I can create that in a small curly cube, you know, a socket. So we did this in the 90s and 2000s until the LED came out. And the LED, so anyway, you have these innovation cycles that are happening over and over again. But we looked at the TV because we were in, let's say, a restaurant. So we'll look at the cash register. The cash register, that's gone through a few. We've gone from cash, right? And then we click the buttons and it calculates for us. It spits out the drawer, which is locked. And then we got the credit cards and we'd have to stamp them. And then we went to digital over the phone. So we've had these cycle innovations, but that TV, man.
Yeah.
Where is it? You know, because ultimately that's what we're trying to solve a problem. So I'm going like, well, okay, it's gone digital. Digital is good,
Yeah.
you know, but I said it's on one way. It's literally one way. It's you are going to watch what I'm going to tell you to watch.
Yes.
That's it.
That's right.
Oh, well, I can choose what I want to watch. Yeah, but not really. Like there's 200 channels that you are programmed to watch. You can't create for it. So I said, what if we do something drastic? We change the idea. It's still the TV, but it's something that you can communicate with. So other people can come in, and when they come in, they define what shows on the TV. So if you have your little cell phone on in your pocket and it says, hey, I really love tennis and I love off-roading in my little 4x4. Well, when you walk in the building, it will change a little bit based upon your interests. And somebody else will walk in and it'll change based upon their interests. And this is more of a two-way communication that, you know, what do we end up doing in a sports bar? We end up putting on like 15 TV screens.
Yep.
And that's good. That's awesome. We're not looking to replace a specific sports bar, but in a smaller restaurant or a barber shop or something like that, you have one TV, two TVs, and they're just playing that generic content. There's nothing about the city, which is really the most important, right? And so this goes again into the phase of inventing and building and changing the innovation of behind what is it, right? So if it's two-way, we're changing the way. What would customers want to see? Do they want to see something national, you know, or do they want to see something happening in their city? Is the best thing for the small business to give them small businesses non-competing around them, right? So if it's a barber shop, well, we can definitely talk about the pizza shop. We don't want to talk about any other barber shops,
right?
But if it's a barber shop, we could talk about a pizza shop, a dentist, other small business owners out there, and that's really beneficial. So now you have your two-way connection. So you walk into the barber shop, you might see a little bit of tennis information because you like tennis, and then you also would see, try this 7-layer chocolate cake. It's like right next door. So
while you're getting your haircut,
yes,
I'll check that out.
Yeah. And so it's funny with like the chocolate cake is, we actually did a test when we first built out the beta version of Tweva, and we talked to Cisco. We said, hey, Cisco, send us some of that. You know, you got some cheesecake. Send us like the company that creates the cake. Send us some sample clips. And like, yeah, if we find something, like, well, what are you doing? Why do you need some low quality cake pictures? We're like, oh, you know, just do it. So he sent us this old video. It looked like maybe 2001 or 2005 or something. Low quality. So we stripped the audio out. And we just took a couple clips of this like fork cutting through the cake. And we didn't have a lot of content. So it was like maybe our mistake, but it was funny. So we posted it up on a couple of restaurants, and, you know, we asked them a couple weeks later, we said, oh, how's that crappy low quality video of the cake doing? And they said, oh my goodness, we had to order more cake 3 weeks in. People started buying it. 4 times as much cake they sold.
Wow.
Like, from that low quality. And we talked to one of the restaurant owners, and he said, you know, people eat with their eyeballs. And I'm going like, I'm coding. I'm like, they eat with their eyeballs? What are you talking about? Oh, okay, I get it. Okay,
That's good.
So through repetition, and so this led us on to another, epiphany, I guess, is small businesses don't have that ability to market on a billboard, where it's a different kind of customer, right? So if you're looking up Italian food, you're going, oh, I'm hungry, I want Italian food. But when's the last time you saw a local pizza place or a local Italian on a billboard somewhere? That's like more passive advertising, right?
Totally.
So passive advertising is Rolex watches, right? We have so much money that we could just say, hey, we are luxury watch. So whenever you think luxury watch, you think Rolex. That's, I mean, how is that possible? Right? I mean, if I search Rolex or if I search luxury watch, there might be 5 different ones, but they have some great branding. Do small businesses have that capability? They don't have the budget, they have the capability. But if we could help them get that kind of advertising, so that when you think pizza, you don't think big franchise. You think, oh yeah, that pizza place, right? And so that's done through repetition. When you're getting your hair cut, when you are out and about walking around and you see that, oh yeah, I like that. That's grandma's recipe. I know that is because I keep seeing it everywhere. But how do we bring the cost down, to where the small business can do that? And that's part of the Tweva network, where it's, we want to do it for 10 cents a commercial, so it's not a $10,000 to be on TV. Because again, cycle of innovation, right? We have, the car was very, very expensive. and then it became less expensive. Same with the Tesla. The first ones were $100,000, $200,000, and then eventually they come down, and they're talking about creating a $30,000 or $40,000 electric car. Where's the innovation with TV? It seems like every year the Super Bowl commercial goes up. It's, what, $8 million now? I think Budweiser said, I'm not even paying that anymore for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Right? So where is the innovation in TV? That's what we created. That's what we patented, is the idea that you and me can walk over to the TV and do something new. Old device, same concept, new innovation. Same thing. A light bulb produces light, right? But it's the LED light bulb is the same thing, but it's done differently with technology. So I know I'm spilling out a lot. I mean, we're going a little bit off topic here, but it's part of the story of how we get from somewhere with that analytical brain and saying, okay, well, where do we need to go? Why do we need to go there? And make sure you keep focused on those main things that help other things be successful, meaning the cycle of innovation, right? So you got to keep thinking towards, what can I do differently? But with all of that, I call it the gap of knowledge, right? There's a gap of knowledge between now, you've been sitting here thinking about this for a year or two. And now how in the world can I bring this down to a level where other people can understand? And so as we started the conversation is we can go there, but we need to bring down simple concepts to let everyone understand what's going on. And sometimes this is the hard part, in just generally pulling that idea down.
I love that. I think what you're describing is a way that any business can position themselves as an expert in their field. The branding that you enable, you're positioning them in such a way that they have more credibility and more authority. And that's what it sounds like to me. Is that right?
Yes. That is absolutely right. That is absolutely right. If you think about, I know you probably have a lawyer in your city or around the city that keeps playing those repetitious ads.
Yeah.
Right. And so we have one here, and I went to a small business conference. I just put his picture up on a slideshow. I said, does anybody know him? And everyone's like, yeah, we all know him. Like, really? You've talked to him so far? He's your friend? And you're like, no. Well, would you hire them? They all said yes. I said, why would you hire a guy that you don't know, you haven't talked to, and your friends don't know him?
Bingo.
Point proven, right?
Yeah.
So it's because you have seen him so many times, you just think that's the guy. And I know that's marketing in general, but when you are cooking and cleaning and dealing with people all day long, the last thing a small business is thinking is like, oh yeah, well, make sure my image is replicated throughout the city and everyone knows what I do. It's literally the last thing.
Yeah.
But in your city, like I have 50,000, 60,000 people in my city. If everybody knew me for what I did, I wouldn't even be on this podcast, right? I would not be anywhere because I would be so busy. So what really is the problem, right? It is recognition. It is becoming that community expert.
That is really solid. I'm extrapolating from this, and I'm thinking like, okay, if you're able to build this type of an authority, this type of credibility, and people begin to know, like, and trust, even through this type of an impersonal thing, how do you capitalize on that and build that connection deeper? There's a lot of talk around AI right now, right? This idea that, AI is the wave and we're going to need less human interaction. But what you're describing is different. You're creating a authority and credibility through the branding. But there's got to be a next step. And that next step feels like it needs to be personal. It feels like there needs to be a human connection there. Would that be accurate?
Yes. Yeah. Our slogan is for the locals. So I tend to stay on the lean in the direction of a human interaction is more important than any AI robot that can text you, right? I'm on a live chat and I'm talking to a robot. You are.
Right.
If you're talking to a real person, you kind of know, the spelling is a little bit off, or, you can tell. but the AI pieces are helping you maybe create a little bit of content, or they're helping maybe support. I like AI for things like accounting.
Yeah.
You know, nobody
Yeah.
wants to run 10,000 transactions and find something missing here or there. I don't necessarily suggest AI is the best to replace a salesperson.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we're not there yet. I think it would be scary if we get there. I jokingly say AI is AI is going to be bad if people are going to be putting on their Apple glasses or something, or their
Yeah.
Google glasses,
Right.
and they'll be like, I can see that Dave is winking a little bit, and he's coughing too much, and his right arm is bouncing a little. He's full of crap, right? Like
Yeah.
some AI will
Yeah.
be able to check if a salesperson is good or not, right? Because you're still going to need salespeople. You're still going to need human interaction. That's going to be scary when we get there, but we still need human interaction. The AI world, we use a little AI to manage, okay, this person is walking in this building. He might have walked in first before someone else. What are we showing on the screen? Has this person been here before? How long have they been there? Who gets priority?
Yeah.
Right? So we're using a little bit in the background, but we wanted, because of the TV screen and bringing communities together, we wanted it more to be everybody's kind of watching and interacting. So we use AI in the background, but we don't really promote it in the foreground. What we wanted is people to get out of their phones.
Yeah.
So instead of everybody, staring at their phones at the bar, we wanted to play content that is something unique happening in the community. So let's say it's a parade went by and somebody got a clip of it with their phone, they submit it to the network, and now it's showing on the local TVs. That might bring a little conversation, right, between people. Or someone may have been to Hawaii and they want to share a couple of Hawaii photos. Oh, I was there 10 years ago. I was there on my honeymoon. Oh, and we starting this little connection between people.
Yeah.
And this happened from putting it in a bar in my town and years ago. And I was there like late 11 o'clock, 11:30 at night. Oh, does the box work? Is everything working? And she said, yeah, I'm just putting some, peanuts, Snoopy, peanuts,
Yeah.
Charlie Brown, memes on the TV. And so I was like, okay, like, all right, well, really? Is that what we're doing with the box? Like, I thought it'd be something cooler. And so I didn't really understand at that point, because I'm the tech guy, I'm developing, right? So we were sitting there and she was uploading pictures, and I just watched like 10 or 15 people wait for the TV screen to load these images while they all laughed when they came on. They were all like, oh, that's a funny one. And I saw this human interaction with multiple people going like, okay, so yeah, they probably know the bar owner. Yeah, but still, they're all interacting instead of on their phones. So this is a collaborative thing that people will want to share with, because it's on a big screen. So they get a little credibility, even if it's not a business owner. They get a little bit of something from sharing, right? But on a bigger screen, oh, it's me, I'm presenting right now. And I thought, oh my goodness, to give each person a little bit of light every once in a while is tremendous, especially with them and their friends. Yeah. When they're relaxing and enjoying, they're not just taking information in, but they're able to share information back out. So really, that again changed a little bit of okay, this is a very powerful tool. How can we give not only business owners, but what about creators? Yeah. What about running, a video podcast on, we can't do an hour, but 5-minute clips. Yeah. And I look over at the TV screen, I'm like, who's that guy? What's happening? I may not be interested in sports. My wife loves Super Bowl football. I'm the nerd. I don't really like it. I'm looking around like, okay, what's interesting for me? And I would absolutely look over and say, who's those people talking over there? And it doesn't have to be a TV network. It could be me and you sharing what we create. Oh, let me scan this QR code real quick. Boop. Okay, now I'm a new follower, right? So things like that give the content creators the ability to do different things today. That's really what Tweva is now, is this community of content creators and the TV network and small businesses. It's like it morphs into something much bigger.
So fascinating. Tweva needs you to lead at a different level today than it did a year or 2 or 3 ago. And Tweva is going to need you to lead at a different level yet 2, 3, 5 years from now. What are you doing to develop those skills that you're going to need? How do you stay on top of your game and level up your leadership skills?
Well, before meeting a ton of people in the leadership realm, I have to say that I did not even understand that we're different levels in the CEO role or the owner role or the founder role, because you are looking down, even though you're imagining big things, you're still looking down and you're looking at your process.
Yeah.
You're saying, how can this happen? How can this be built? Oh, well, if we connect this API over here, and then people will use this like this. Then you hit a block and you realize, okay, I don't know something, but I think I know everything, right? Because everybody does. We all think that we know everything.
Yeah.
And then when you have this epiphany, finally, when you talk to enough people in, I would call it a different level, and you start to think, okay, there is another level. Okay, I'll get there. And you get to the next level, and then you're like, wait, is there another level? Then you realize there are multiple levels. And so I jokingly tell people, I'm like, that's why CEOs get paid $20 million, $100 million. There is so many variables to every situation going on that it is a constant learning, levels of learning. And I think a lot of people, including myself, think we can do a lot alone. But there is a certain block to that, because before you didn't know. And like you said, a couple of years ago, when you're in your design phase, you think, oh, this is a great idea. Well, there was 10 things that we were doing wrong. That having any type of mentor, any type of startup world mentor, leadership mentor would have made drastic changes. But they come at a price, right? You have to let go of something to take that piece. And it's sad that the only way is, education, right? There's no like course on how to get there. Because every business is so different. It's like, oh, my persona is, the older person doesn't understand what this is. And so other people's businesses are completely different. But you come to a realization that you need mentors and leaders to really help you see that next 5 years.
Yeah.
Because you have something in your mind, and then you go home, you got to spend time with the wife, the kids, you got to exercise, oh, I got to make food. Yep. You're not thinking about that. And it is so incredibly important to, even if you start your business, to start with a mentor, because it can make that next 5 years completely different than what it was. So
it's so true. It's so hard to see the whole picture when you're in the frame. You just can't see what you can't see. You're in it. You're in the weeds. To have somebody on the outside who's going to help you to see, who's going to ask you the questions that maybe nobody else in your world will ask you, and help you to begin to see and become aware of things that you simply wouldn't have been aware of. Or if you did eventually become aware of them, it would be because you hit the ditches over and over again as you were driving down the road. What if there's a better way? What if there's a way to shorten the process so that you can go farther in a shorter time frame? Yes. And I think that is the beauty and the value of what you're describing, seeking those mentors, seeking those coaches who are going to help you to see those things so that you can shorten your learning curve, right? And avoid so many of the ditches that we watch people driving into. I love that.
Yeah, that is incredibly important. Like if there was any kind of things that I would have done differently, or things that we would have done differently, that would be it, is finding 5 or 10 people and sorting them out and figuring out which one is best. And even if you didn't have 5 or 10, just a few would make a difference in the long term. Because I think we get hooked on, oh, I'll do this, and if I can do this for 6 months, when I'm done doing that for 6 months, well, I'll be at a different level, and then I can get to this for the next 6 months. Though we don't really think like that. We don't think 5 years out. We just think, oh, this is temporary. When somebody else might say, hey, that's only has to be done for 30 days, not 6 months. And then you have to start focusing on something else. Yeah, that would definitely make a difference.
That's really good. You're a continual learner, and that's obvious to anybody who spends more than 5 minutes with you. Like, you are constantly learning and growing and developing. And I would imagine there are inputs in your life that are making a big difference, that are helping you learn and grow. Is there a book that has made a big difference in your journey, or a podcast that you're listening to these days that you're like, man, these are moving the needle for me in my development?
There's not a specific. I remember reading The Magic of Thinking Big
Yeah.
back when I started programming, and I loved that book.
Yeah.
I really loved it. That was several years ago. What I tend to focus on now is not a particular book or a particular leader. It's just if I hear things that I don't know, I listen.
Yeah.
That's literally the way it works.
That's
I
good.
do have an addiction to that, though. And it can lead you down the wrong road sometimes because
Yeah.
you start thinking about things, and,
Yeah.
it's part of a creative effort. I would think, most painters, their paintings are not the best. Same with me, right? Everything that I create is not 100% perfect.
Sure.
But when I'm listening, I just listen for things I don't know. And I kind of like my brain, it stimulates my brain. I think in the way sports does. If I talk, oh, do you know so-and-so, he broke his arm and now he can't throw this far. He can't run this far. Can you believe that? And I'm like, no, I don't really know about that. But does anyone know if you patent, a patent language for this or that? And, glaze over, But it's just, I don't know. It's something I don't know. So it's fun.
Yeah.
So what I tend to do is if I don't know something, I'm either watching a video on YouTube about something or technological upgrade or, some of the big thought leaders, how they think about things,
Yes.
why they do what they do.
Yeah.
And some of the macro views of things, like Steve Jobs said he thinks of things in seasons. So this is a very interesting, like you remember when they took out the floppy drive of his computer, and everybody went wild, and he said, oh, that was in the fall. It was about to die. So I'm like, again, he might understand cyclical analysis. He brought it down, all of that, looking at a chart and a graph. He just said, oh, there's only 4 parts to it. Just look at it like in seasons. And so this is what he did really well. He might have been incredibly smart, but he knew how to bring that down so that not only his team could understand it, but the investors. And that's where he could get the capital to build out the products. So when you're in any business that you're at, look for thought-provoking ideas and concepts that may be very interesting to you, and then try to simplify them down. And that's really what creates that pull. Because people understand the concept, but they don't know how to explain it. So it gets thrown away. So now if I can say, oh, it's in seasons, well, he can say, okay, well, why did they pull their DVD drive? Well, it's probably in the fall now. I know that. Anything that they do now, I can say, oh, it probably is in the fall or the winter because it's about to die and it's over. There's 4 parts to it. Now, what did they go into? Well, would you say that VR and spatial computing, they changed the word from VR, which everybody uses. They said, oh, we'll make our own called spatial computing. Why? Is VR in summer? See?
Yeah.
Right? Is it? So do they say, oh, no, we'll create our own, but we'll make it the spring?
Absolutely.
So now they have a little bit more time and they can essentially kill VR. Or is VR, more people think VR is a headset connected to a computer with a graphics card? We don't know. But we do know the way that they think and how they think about things. So I would say those pieces I tend to look at, and I look for things that I don't know and then try to not get too deep into the weeds of explaining it. But I love the deep weeds because, coding and building, and I love that stuff. My wife says, yeah, you lost me like 10 minutes ago. So...
I think your gift, though, is being able to absorb and understand at that level, and then be able to communicate it in a way that people can understand it, like you were describing. I think that's a gift you have. And I think that's why Tweva is seeing the success already that it is seeing. And I think the best is yet to come, because you can make it accessible. You can take these concepts that are maybe out of reach for some people. They just don't think in that way, but you can make it understandable, accessible. You're putting the cookies on a shelf everybody can reach, so to speak.
Absolutely. That's what I mean, not to bring him up again, but Steve Jobs said something with the best technology looks like magic.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Like,
exactly.
everybody had buttons, like the whole keyboard on their phone. And he was like, well, where's my populace? Where's my persona? Where's my customer?
Yes.
And he said, well, I think he thought about the baby boomer generation. I seriously think he said,
So
who for my investors, who has the most capital, who has the most processing power to be able to do what they need to do? Okay, put one button on the phone for them.
Yes.
I think that he must have been looking at it like that. And because it was so crazy to do, right? One button on your phone, but he looked at it like that. So that's things that we need to do also in our business, in our world, is who's your persona. If they are different generation, you can give them an Xbox controller with 26 buttons on it, right? Because the first Nintendo had 6.
Yeah.
Now it's got 16 or 20, right? But it's a different persona. It's a different group. So all these things make a difference. And, that's part of where you need to go with the CEO.
Dave, this has been brilliant. I've so enjoyed this conversation, and I'm confident our listeners have as well. I know they're going to want to continue learning from you and learning more about Tweva. What is the best way for them to connect with you?
You can go to our main website of tweva.com, or you can hit us up on any social media platforms. We're on all of them. Or you can just email me at dave@tweva.com.
I thank you so much for the generosity you've shown today, Dave, and sharing from your journey so far about what you have learned. And that is for our benefit. And I'm so grateful for that.
Well, thanks for letting me on your podcast and, talk to your listeners. I love to share the story. I love to talk about the journey and the experience. And, it's just a lot of fun for me. So thanks for letting me share.
Thanks for joining me for this episode today. As we wrap up, I'd love for you to do 2 things. First, subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. And if you find value here, I'd love it if you would rate it and review it. That really does make a difference in helping other people to discover this podcast. Second, if you don't have a copy of my newest book, Catalytic Leadership, I'd love to put a copy in your hands. If you go to catalyticleadershipbook.com, you can get a copy for free. Just pay the shipping so I can get it to you, and we'll get one right out. My goal is to put this into the hands of as many leaders as possible. This book captures principles that I've learned in 20 plus years of coaching leaders in the entrepreneurial space, in business, government, nonprofits, education, and the local church. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn to keep up with what I'm currently learning and thinking about. And if you're ready to take a next step with a coach to help you intentionally grow and thrive as a leader, I'd be honored to help you. Just go to catalyticleadership.net to book a call with me. Stay tuned for our next episode next week. Until then, as always, leaders, choose to be catalytic.
Thanks for listening to Catalytic Leadership with Dr. William Attaway. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss the next episode. Want more? Go to catalyticleadership.net.